In a matter of days, Apple will unveil its most ambitious and futuristic product ever. And if it's successful, it could replace the iPhone as Apple's best-selling product. On June 5th, at the company's Worldwide Developer Conference, Apple CEO Tim Cook is expected to unveil a product called the Reality Pro. This is a product that took Apple 7 years and a team of over 1,000 people to develop. The company has big plans for this product, and one killer feature that it hopes will turn the Reality Pro into a global phenomenon. So what's the Reality Pro? Well, it's a mixed reality headset. You might have seen or you might even own a virtual reality headset like this Meta Quest 2. Well, the Reality Pro is kind of like that, but it's got some extra features as well. Like existing virtual reality headsets on the market, the Reality Pro will immerse users in a virtual environment. That's what VR is about, immersion, completely cutting you off from the outside world and engrossing you in a computer-generated virtual environment. So you'll put the headset on, load it up, and then you'll see a bunch of app icons similar to what you see with the iPhone or the iPad. In fact, a lot of existing iPad apps are being adapted so they can be used on the Reality Pro. But there's also apps and services that will be unique to the Reality Pro. This includes a new version of FaceTime in which you'll be able to interact with others using a realistic 3D rendering of your face and full body. This is made possible thanks to the numerous sensors that the Reality Pro has, including those that track your leg movements. Apple is also said to be working on bringing users gaming, fitness, and collaboration apps, as well as unique VR viewing experiences for things like movies, TV shows, and sports. Now, the cool thing about the Reality Pro is it can be controlled just using your eyes and hand gestures. And if you need to type something, there's going to be a virtual keyboard that you can use. That will hopefully make using the headset a more intuitive and less cumbersome experience than using controllers like these that you get with the Meta Quest 2. So I've talked about the VR aspects of the Reality Pro, but remember, this is a mixed reality device. Mixed reality is when the real world is combined with the virtual world. When it's more real world with some virtual elements, it's called augmented reality. When it's more virtual world with some real world elements, it's called augmented virtuality. So in the case of the Reality Pro, there's going to be cameras and sensors that capture video and data from the real world and then stream it back to the user. Apps can then potentially use that stream of real world data and combine it with virtual elements to create mixed reality experiences. Now here's the killer feature that I talked about earlier. Users of the headset can quickly switch between VR and mixed reality mode by using something that's similar to the digital crown on the Apple Watch. Apple is hoping that the ease with which users can switch modes is going to make the Reality Pro into more than a standard VR device and potentially something that people will be willing to use outside the privacy of their homes. I know a lot of you are skeptical of the idea that people are going to use a clunky headset in public, and for good reason. Who wants to have a big device strapped to their head all day? I mean, that's before even considering the fact that the Reality Pro will be powered by an external battery pack that you have to carry in your pocket. So it's a pretty big stretch to think we'll see a whole lot of people walking around in public with these headsets in the near future. And that's probably a big disappointment to Apple CEO Tim Cook, who envisioned something completely different when he originally greenlit this project. What Tim Cook originally wanted was for Apple to make a lightweight pair of augmented reality glasses. Something that looks like a standard pair of glasses, is comfortable, and can overlay digital elements onto your view of the real world. That type of device is the holy grail for a company like Apple because it's the natural successor to the iPhone. Something like the iGlass or whatever it would be called would be able to do everything that the iPhone does and more. And unlike the iPhone, which people use several hours a day, or something like the Reality Pro, which people will probably use less frequently than that, AR glasses could literally be used all day long. The problem is, the type of AR glasses that could have mainstream appeal aren't yet technically feasible due to challenges with miniaturizing the necessary components. There are some AR glasses on the market today, most notably the HoloLens from Microsoft, but they're typically bulkier and more suitable for specialized industries and professional use rather than for ordinary people. So that leaves us with virtual reality, or in the case of the Reality Pro, mixed reality, which doesn't so much seem like a natural evolution of the smartphone, but something else entirely. If you think about the evolution of computers, we went from room-sized mainframes to mini computers to personal computers to smartphones. And everyone's been asking, what's next? AR glasses seem like the next step, while VR seems almost like the step after that. So it's kind of interesting that we have VR before AR, but that's largely due to the issue of miniaturizing that I talked about earlier. VR headsets are big and bulky, so they don't have that problem. And that's why Apple's coming out with this product, the Reality Pro, even though Tim Cook would probably prefer to release AR glasses first. That said, VR still holds a lot of promise. This is a nascent computing category that's truly unique when compared to established categories like PCs and smartphones. It's just a matter of getting the user experience and the selection of apps to the point where it becomes useful for the average person. If anyone can do that, it's Apple. Now, Apple is projecting the Reality Pro to have a relatively slow start, at least by its standards. The company's internal projections have it selling less than 1 million headsets in the first year, which compares to over 200 million iPhones sold last year. One headwind for Reality Pro sales is the high price tag for the device. It's expected to cost $3,000, but Apple is working on cheaper versions of the Reality Pro, which are expected to debut in 2024 or 2025. So when those come out, demand should pick up. For context, there were 9.6 million AR and VR devices sold in 2022, which is similar to the amount sold in 2017. So we haven't seen growth in this market over the past 5 years, but Apple is expected to change that. Some people believe that VR and AR device sales could climb to 40, 50, or 60 million units over the next few years. Personally, I think it's only a matter of time before some combination of AR and VR replaces the smartphone as our primary device. Though I'm less confident about whether that happens this decade, next decade, or even later. But maybe I'm completely wrong about that. There are skeptics who think that Apple's wasting its resources on a product that they think is going to be a bust. We'll see what happens. Follow for more insights on business, investing, and the economy.